As far as editing your columns, rows, and cells, I'm talking about inserting new columns or new rows or even just a range of cells in your database here, as opposed to inserting a whole new column or a whole new row. First of all, let's go ahead and start off with inserting rows and columns. For example, when I come up here in cell A1, there's no rows above it. But let's say I want to go ahead and type in my company's name in a cell above this, or somehow shift this row down so I can have a blank row above. To insert rows, it's really simple. You can do it one of two ways. You can either come over here on the row header, and again, we discussed this in an earlier training video, but these are all the numbers or headings for each row, defined by numbers sorted from the smallest to the largest number down to row 1 million. And these are the column headers. So you have the name of the column, or the column headers. They're referred to A, B, C, D for each column. Sometimes students get confused when I say go ahead and select the column A or row 7. They think that if they go ahead and they click in the column, that's selecting it. It's not. You want to come up here on the header, and when you hover over it, either the column header or the row header, you get that black arrow. When you see it, notice that for the row it's pointing to the right. When you click on it, it shoots it over and selects the whole row, all the way out to column X, G, A, F, something. And then by the same token, if you hover over the column header, click on it with the black arrow, points down, selects the whole column all the way down to the millionth row. So what I want to do is, again, I want to be able to insert a blank row above this row. Go ahead and select the row by clicking on the row header, number 1. After you select it, then go ahead and give it a right click either on the row header or in the selected row. Right click and go to insert, and it shifts that row down. Now it's row 2. Let me go ahead and click off in a blank area, and you have a new blank row above it. Really nice, right? Well, that's one way. Let me go ahead and hit undo. And of course, as you recall, my undo is only available in this session. If I close out of the Excel program and open it back up and I'm like, oh, I can't undo that, well, you can go ahead and delete the row. In fact, let's go ahead and redo what we just undid, the blank row there. And if we want to delete the row, then just go ahead and make sure the row is selected, right click, and then go ahead and say delete, and that will delete the whole row. But you want to be sure to select it, of course. The other way to insert a row, you can just go ahead and click in any cell in that row, is to come up here on the Home tab to the Cells group, click on the Insert drop-down arrow, and say you want a new sheet row. Go ahead and click on it. It inserts the row above, so you don't have to worry about selecting the whole row by clicking on the row header. You can just select any cell within that row to go ahead and insert the row. Of course, there's your sheet columns. You can go ahead and click on that, and whatever cell you have selected in that column, it shifts the whole column over, so you got a new blank column here. And of course, if you want to delete it, same thing. Just go ahead and either right-click on the column header, you get the delete option in the shortcut menu, or come over here, and then below Insert you have Delete. Click on the drop-down arrow and say you want to delete the Sheets column, or at least the one that you have selected, or you can have a cell selected within that column, and of course, click on the drop-down arrow and delete the Sheets column. Now here's a shortcut if you have to insert several rows at once. For example, if I need, 3 rows above this, go ahead and select 3 rows. Did you see how I did that? Just click on the first row, hold down the left mouse button, and move your mouse down or drag your mouse down so you have 3 rows selected. And then of course give it a right click or come up here and insert 2 rows. I'm going to go ahead, the right clicking option is a lot quicker for me, so in the shortcut menu of the right click, click on insert and boom. It adds as many rows as you had selected when you go ahead and click on insert. This is looking pretty messy. Let me go ahead and undo this several times. Of course, I can, again, delete those rows. I showed you how to delete the rows and the columns, but let me undo that. Finally, instead of just inserting rows or columns, which we know how to do, inserts complete rows and completely new columns, if you just need to shift some data over just a bit, for example, I've got the employee's ID here. Well, what if I want to be able to type in their names here? Well, this column right here is in the way, isn't it? I can shift it over. I know it's not going to make sense because if I shift just this area over one, then the totals of January will be here, and I'll have the names here. It's not going to be right below that column, is it? Well, nonetheless, you'll get my point here. If I just want to shift a range over, to shift the range of data by a column over to the right, instead of inserting a whole new blank column, go ahead and select the range, right-click in the middle of the selected range, and go down to Insert. When you click on Insert, it wants to insert the cells, and it'll give you a few options. Do you want to take the cells that you have selected and shift them to the right, or do you want to shift them down? Or again, as we just showed you, do you want to insert an entire row or an entire column? Well, there's a third way to go ahead and insert entire rows and columns. In any case, let's just shift them over to the right, click OK, and it takes everything within that range you have selected and it shifts everything over one column. That means that February that was in column D now goes to column E, and so on. So that way you can come over here and type in their names, Fred. In any case, it doesn't make sense as far as matching the month's totals when I have to go from column C to leap over to column D, because that's not true here, because the month total here is for February in any case. Now by the same token, if I want to go ahead and delete that range and collapse them together, of course I can hit undo, but better yet, select the range that you want to collapse in and pull these columns together. In other words, to have January go back to the cell here and all the data over to the left. Select it, right click, go ahead and select delete, and then you can shift the cells to the left. Now I want you to know something, that when you insert, notice it'll shift the rows either to the right or down. When you delete, it wants to shift the cells either up or left. I'm going to go ahead and click cancel. Don't forget, another way to do it is to come up here on the home tab to the cells group, and you can click on delete, or again click on insert if you want to insert just the cells again and shift them over and shift these guys over again, which we don't want to do. So we'll click cancel, but delete the cells and we'll shift the cells to the left. In other words, everything's going to be deleted and it's going to take everything to the right of that and shift it back to the left to the range that we have selected. Click okie dokie and we're back to where we started. Thanks for watching. Hey, as a quick reminder, if you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. You can also click on me and subscribe to my channel, get notified of the latest videos, and for only $2 a month, you can have access to all my Microsoft Office training videos.